Hello, I'm Ryan Morris, and this is my speech on discrimination of people that are deaf. The most widely seen job quality sought after in today's market is strong communication skills. This is seen in nearly every field where it is essential to be able to efficiently communicate to coworkers to improve productivity. And for many of us, this is seen as a non-issue. But for the deaf community, a large disparity can be seen on this front. Not only do employers lack the education on how to find solutions to hiring the people from the impaired world, many times it can be a scary legal issue for companies. Companies like Miles Kimball have had lawsuits and improper firings of hearing impaired workers due to the lack of accommodation to them in the workplace and hiring process. This isn't the only problem stemming in the job markets for the deaf community. They also find themselves feeling isolated and underpaid by a biased system that may just have a problem understanding this class of workers. The accommodation of hearing impaired people is less heard of and talked about in the job market. People know how to handle people in wheelchairs and with physical disabilities because their fight for inclusion has been more publicly discussed. They don't lack a basic skill necessary to communicate and work in an environment dominated people with the ability to communicate easily with others. The accommodations for hearing impaired people can be a larger issue. Translators are not often employed by companies full-time, and the added need for different softwares to help the deaf community is an additional expense many employers simply aren't aware of or scared to commit to. Many make applicants with this impairment find their own way when it comes to interpreters. This can be discouraging to the idea of entering that workplace. In a recent Texas lawsuit against Wendy's, a manager told a hearing impaired man with 3 years work experience in that field that there was really no place for someone who he could not communicate with. But with technology now, many gadgets can help bridge the gap for these workers. Tools like T-Link for telephones and applications built into hearing aids can optimize sounds to be utilized in many workplaces. But the education on these issues in the workforce is not enough currently, and as speech coach Mary Clark said, if a person with a hearing loss doesn't know what to ask for, and the employer doesn't know what they need, then performance is going to suffer. In the area of inclusion is also a factor. As Gerard Buckley, the president of Rochester Institute for the Deaf, put it, the best way he can prepare his students is by showing them how to overcome the obstacles to help reduce the fear of inclusion many have upon entering the private and public workforce. Many employers don't mean to be biased, but they just aren't equipped to handle sensory handicapped people. They don't have the tools to provide these workers, and that's where they can be left out in the working environment. Taking a look into an office setting, much of the collaboration happens outside of formal meetings. Yes, the major topic is covered during the large conference where the hearing impaired may have an interpreter present, but after many changes simply happen during daily conversation away from the large group discussion. And many times the hearing impaired get left out simply because time isn't taken to give them the information. In a blind discussion on the topic, one person said that they were at a big disadvantage because they usually would find that they weren't given all the information, that their version was a shortened version of the ideas and conversation due to their impairment. They reported they didn't get all the information needed because regular workers don't realize how much of the information was really needed. Another reported that simply having access to the information wasn't the same as being included in the workplace, and many found it diminished their drive for success because they often felt left out of much of the information. While this problem is not always the case, many pointed out that they did not think it was the intention of their coworkers, but the lack of education on this type of a disability in the workplace were far less than people with physical impairments, since those disabled people still share a common form of communication. To expand on my introduction, with the employer seeking people with strong communication skills, it is easy to see a bias against deaf people. The study by Chung Cho and Marjorie Baldwin found that even though people with sensory disabilities make up 5.5% of the population, they make up only 3.4% of the workforce. And of this group, their median income was only 71% of the average median income for those without disabilities. It's easy to see why they experience lower amounts of promotion and a higher unemployment rate when you find out that most people are very uncomfortable interacting with people with communication disabilities. Then you look at how these types of accommodations needed to employ these people are additional costs, and it's easy to infer that employers may be biased to hiring them, knowing they will cost more to employ. In conclusion, employment and discrimination of people with hearing impairments are greatly under-discussed and researched. It is clear that it really affects the employment chances for these people in today's workforce. We need more education for managers and companies on this front to ensure autism doesn't have a place in the workforce. We also need to educate on the ways to help people be successful in the workplace that have communication disabilities. We need to help them feel more included. With the modern technology advancing in these areas, I can definitely see that improvements are coming for the people with sensory disabilities. Thank you.